Here's a bunch of basic tips for Night of the Dead that you should find useful. One of the first things that I didn't realise is that you can actually kick bushes down. This is really handy because it's easier than swinging an axe. And from that, you'll get branches. And branches you basically need for loads of different things for crafting. So it's worth doing that. You'll also get cherries and apples in this way and from trees to help feed you. For inventory management, you'll find that splitting stacks isn't immediately obvious how you do it, but if you look on the left-hand side of the screen in the inventory section, you'll see it says half, 1, and drop. Now, you use this logic basically by clicking on those or by pressing those buttons to be able to split a stack. So if you want to give your friends some things, for example, you can do it this way. So my friends here are injured and they needed food, bandages, and painkillers in order to get on with what they were doing. So I got groups of the things that I needed and then dropped them. It's not very intuitive, so you have to click on drop first and then click on the thing, and then it's in drop mode, so you then have to switch to the other modes, for example, half or single. So if you're looking to split a stack of things, let's say you click on half, when you then drag the javelins in this instance across, it would then do that. If you click on 1, it'll only do 1 at a time. If you click on half, it'll do half that number. And then obviously if you try and split again, it'll do half that again. So we've gone from whatever number it was to 14 to 7 to 3. And you can see breaking down how you do that. And that's how you then split them. To demolish things, so when you've created something, you need to make sure you've got the claw hammer and it's put in your quick slot. And then you get the option to demolish anything that you've crafted. So the basic crafting bench, for example, that wasn't immediately obvious to me, but it is one thing that you can do. If there's items on top of other things that you've crafted, for example, you can see that I've got a workbench and other things on top of these structures. If you dismantle those, it will then fall down and it'll end up in a box that you can then easily pick up, which makes life a lot easier in terms of then collecting stuff and the looted items that you've dropped in that area. This game's really good at allowing you to collect all really easily, so it's handy to know. Now, with your character, if you click on the character screen, you'll get the stat points that you can spend. So you might find you'll upgrade in several levels, you can go into the stats. With these stats, you'll find there's positives and negatives for increasing them. Increasing memory, for example, makes you worse at fishing, but better at killing zombies. And so it's worth looking out to see which one of these is worth applying to and boosting you up. Now, when it comes to your companion, you'll find that they're very useful. They get stuck right into the fight. If you equip them well, as I'll show you in a minute, they can be very handy. But sometimes they'll die and they're difficult to get to, as in this basement. What I found is if you go out sometimes of a danger zone, your companion will respawn. Mutated Victor Strain is a sort of mini boss that you have to deal with early on in the game, and he's pretty difficult to deal with. What I've found a good tip is that to use a bow. So use a bow and keep a good distance from him. Hopefully your companion will get stuck in and help out. If you've got friends that can help you with it as well, this is good. But if you keep away from him and dodge a lot, because he shoots, because he's got guns, so he hits you pretty easily with those. But he also explodes things in the environment around him, so the explosive barrels, is worth getting rid of those. And he also does these attacks where he does like an area effect attack. So you have to watch out for that. So I'd recommend dodging as much as possible from his attacks. It takes ages to get him with a bow, but you can eventually do it this way. If you are doing it with a friend and one of you dies, you have to wait for your friend to come back before you die, because otherwise he will respawn and he will have full health, which can be a problem. Now, with various different weapons, you'll find that they have slots on them where you can equip various other things. You can see this axe, for example. I can put a chain handle on it to improve it, but it's not as simple as just dragging it on there. You have to go to the handmade section and then the parts section, and then put your weapon in there. Then you can attach parts to it and then press take. Now, it's worth noting that you can't do this from your quick slot down the bottom. So if I try and drag it from there, you'll see it doesn't work. You have to go to your inventory and from the handmade section and then drag it in there and then attach the parts to it. You can use this for putting scopes and torches on weapons, for example. You look at your character, your follower, click on F, and you'll end up in an exchange section where obviously you can give them things like food, for example. But if you go to the follower character section, you'll see that they also have stats, so you can upgrade their stats. So you can give them more vitality. You notice mine's really strong and has decent vitality. That's what I've been focusing on there. You can do that there. And then just click decision. You can also change their name if you want to, give them a new name, and you can see what their current traits are. This is useful because you can find other companions in the world that you can also swap to if you want to, so you can get a different companion. It's possible to do that. You also have a follower coil section, which I'm going to get to in a later video in a bit more depth, because coils basically improve various different skills and things. In the follower inventory section, you can also see their clothing that they're wearing. You'll notice that some of these have coils on them, but you can give them better stuff this way and improve it. And you can also, basically, it's the same as your sort of character logic. But if you give them a weapon or different weapons, they'll choose. You can't actually put a weapon in their hand, for example. They basically automatically equip whatever. So I'd recommend giving them a variety of things. The other thing that's useful about followers, if you give them a pickaxe, for example, and then go to follower order, you can set them to do various different things. So early on, you can do synthetic object looting. Then you unlock plant collecting. Once you do these things, they will then help you harvest. So they will use a pickaxe to have a go at rocks, and they will use an axe to chop down trees. So you can get them to help you collect things. And as you can see, she's collected a load of different nonsense, including research data, which she's just picked up. So watch out for that, because you might find that they get full of stuff, and some of it's really helpful. Research data is really useful, for example. If you found this useful, subscribe to see more tips like this. I'm going to go into a lot more depth on this game in the near future, including building traps and doing other things that would be interesting. There's some pretty cool stuff that you can do with the electric traps when you get to them, for example. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks very much for watching.